Bienvenue à tous. Welcome to Reporters. I'll look at the very best of France 24 from around the world. In this edition, we get a unique insight into the problems facing the Hungary of East Africa. Our reporter has been to the heart of the biggest refugee camp in the world, the one struggling to cope with a massive influx of people from Somalia, where the south, of course, is in the grip of a major famine. Dadaab in Kenya is just over the border. It has a capacity of 90,000, which has already been exceeded even before the start of this current crisis. People, of course, arrive having walked for days. The refugee camp represents for them the last resort, the final hope. But as our report shows, other parts of Kenya have succumbed to similar devastating problems. James Andre's report starts in Dadaab in Kenya, and we'll be speaking to him after the report.
These refugees are at the end of a long journey. They left Bualen in Somalia 20 days ago. They have walked hundreds of kilometers to flee starvation.
Drought, famine, hunger, the animals have died. All of this made us leave and look for a better place.
These refugees have come to seek help at Dadaab refugee camp in Kenya.
We've reached the refugee camp. We'll be healed. Our problems will be solved.
A grueling trip they have done on an empty stomach. Mahat Yusuf walked with his 6 children and his father-in-law, who is nearly 100 years old.
We are carrying him because of old age and hunger. He was too hungry. We are not alive. Apart from hunger, nobody hurt us. No one attacked us. We were very hungry and we have seen a lot of hunger. We were cooking tea without sugar for the children.
The group finally arrives in front of the gates of the camp registration center.
Get under that tree, get under that tree. Come on, let's move. Let's move. Give me some space here.
They will have to wait for a few hours. 1,300 people arrive each day in Dadaab since drought and famine hit Somalia. Long-established refugees take care of them. The new arrivals have all fled the southern provinces of Somalia that are controlled by Al-Shabaab. The Islamic militia has banned international aid in these regions and is now trying to stop people leaving. In the safety of the camp, these women break their years of silence.
We don't want them. They're not Muslims. They're non-believers. We don't want them. They're very bad people. They weren't helping us. They weren't doing anything for us. They tried to hold us there, and we ran away from them.
Before they can receive food, the new arrivals are registered in the UNHCR database.
We're just checking if they are already registered, if they have the ration.
Registration entitles the refugees to this precious yellow wristband. With it, they will receive a plastic sheet, some cooking items, and a ration of food. Enough to feed the family for 3 weeks. Dadaab opened in 1991 for the Somalis who were fleeing the civil war. It is the world's largest refugee camp, with around 450,000 people scattered on 50 square kilometers. In Dadaab, food distribution resembles a well-organized industry. The World Food Programme has deployed impressive logistics designed to feed hundreds of thousands of people. Distribution takes place twice a month in these huge hangars.
Okay, you're allowed 10 kilos and a little extra.
Card, please.
I haven't had all my food yet.
We are making that no food goes extra without its cut. The cut, each food which is made out should be with the purpose of the cut.
Some refugees have lived in Dadaab for 20 years. They have built houses and opened shops. The center of the camp resembles any normal African city. These refugees tend to support the new arrivals, but some are beginning to fear overpopulation.
I've been living in the camp for 20 years. The camp is just becoming crowded because people are coming almost 100,000. There are very many people. here in the camp coming. Every 24 hours, there are new arrivals coming, and no one is giving them support.
We have the same religion, but that's it. We have nothing else in common. They are outside with their kids, they go to the loo outside, and we have to pay for them.
Dadaab camp was initially designed to shelter 90,000 people, but today there's more than 4 times that. New refugees have to settle outside the camps in makeshift huts. Here, there is no security and no latrines. People have to walk several kilometers to find food, water, or medical help. Attacks are frequent. Markaba arrived a month ago. She lives in this minute hut with 9 other people. One night, bandits attacked.
They beat us with sticks. They had no mercy. One man raped me. I don't have a house to sleep in. I fear people, animals, bandits, everything.
These refugees are not safe, but at least they have escaped starvation. Kenya absorbs most Somali refugees, yet some of its own people are starving to death. We are traveling to Turkana, a remote region in the northeast of the country. It is facing the same drought that hit the provinces fled by the refugees in Dadaab. There is no infrastructure here. The area has been abandoned by the Kenyan government. Nagwawi lost his wife 4 days ago. Since then, he uses any strength he can muster to visit her grave.
My wife starved to death. There was no one to help her. My arms were too weak. I couldn't find food or medicine for her. It was the starvation that killed her. The same starvation that is in me now.
12 people starved to death in this village alone over the past 2 weeks. The drought has killed most of the Turkana's livestock, destroying the livelihoods of members of this pastoralist community. Those who still have animals have to travel further and further away to find pasture. Ekale is 14. He has found grass for what's left of his parents' herd, but is now more than 50 kilometers from home. He scans the horizon constantly for rustlers. With the drought and the death of livestock, cattle raids are on the rise.
They come to raid us all the time. Even during the trip here, they stopped us and took our cows and some goats. That's why I carry this gun. It's because of the raiders. If a raider comes to take our animals, then I start shooting to protect them.
Often, these raids turn into massacres. Just over a week ago, 13 people died. Around 200 herdsmen belonging to the Merele tribe crossed the border from Ethiopia and attacked a group of pastoralists on the banks of Lake Turkana. The police escort us to the crime scene, less than 2 kilometers from their base.
This is a place. So people were running, then they stole, cattle across the delta.
Alojita lost nearly everything in this attack. His wife was killed and his cattle stolen. He is left to care for 2 small children.
I've considered all the options. I've even thought of killing myself and the children. I have nothing left. I've lost all my animals and relatives in the raid. These children are all that's left.
Many Turkanas have had to leave their settlements to seek help in the villages. After months of inaction, the Kenyan government is slowly starting to react. Today, the whole of Kaikor village is assembled to hear their plan.
Sit down! You children, sit down! Don't stand up, sit down!
Everyone has come to talk about their problems.
My body has become very weak. It's dying. I had 5 goats. They're all dead. I'm left like a vulture. I want to tell these people to help me. to help me.
There's nothing we can fight drought with. Sometimes the wild berries are ripe. We eat them, but people just die and die. We bury them and bury them.
For John Muniz, this is an opportunity to campaign. He is Kenya's Labour Minister and the local MP. He doesn't hesitate to criticise the inertia and corruption of his own government in front of our camera.
How can a refugee be provided with all they need, food, water, medicine, and yet the local staying around the refugee camp cannot get? That as a government we can put more resources. This is a trillion shilling economy. The budget has grown, the Kenya government, the economy is doing well. Let's allocate money to fight starvation, to fight famine in this area. Let's allocate money in the dry areas of this country to increase food.
Monthly food distributions have started.
Hey, sit down. There's still food. We're going to give you some more.
Locals have nicknamed this program One Cup.
This oil is for 2 people. Me and a friend who's had a baby at home. It's just 1 cup and a kilo of corn. I'll cook all of this today because I have a big family.
Long-term solutions do exist. A few hundred meters away, Kennedy is picking vegetables in the Catholic Mission's gardens.
We have here sorghum. And this sorghum is from Kenya seed. In fact, it's the best crop that suits this area because it needs little water and it can survive in hot areas. This one is cowpeas. We eat these leaves and we also eat the seeds. We also eat these seeds.
Soil is very fertile and there are large quantities of water 80 meters underground.
We have 2 submersible pumps, electric pumps, which are pumping water from the 2 wells, and we can now do some kind of irrigation here. That makes this place to be green like this. But without water, we cannot succeed.
The mission's 2 solar pumps produce 16,000 liters of water a day. To put an end to famine in their region, Turkanas will have to change their lifestyle, abandon the nomadic pastoralist model and move on to farming. But nothing will happen without support from the Kenyan government.
I'm pleased to say James Andre is with us here in the studio. James, people might find it hard to believe that in a country like Kenya, which from the outside looks like a thriving African nation, has a problem like this where people are facing, well, starvation.
Absolutely. Kenya is the largest economy in East Africa, and still people are facing starvation. But it's a paradoxical economy, basically. The country has a powerful economy, but a lot of people are actually living behind the poverty lines and living with less than $1 a day. Still, Turkana has been abandoned totally. And this is kind of an historical fact. It started with the British when they came to Kenya. They decided that zone was economically uninteresting. They declared it to be not worth taking care of. And when independence came, basically the Kenyan government since have just done the same. So we're talking about an area where there are no roads, no telephone, no infrastructure whatsoever, and these people are just left to their own devices, and the government, which is extremely centralized, is not doing anything or hasn't done anything up to now to come and help them.
So life in Turkana, it sounds, at the best of times, is extremely tough. Now, in what is fast becoming the worst of times, there's that to contend with, and then, of course, as you point out, things like cattle raids, your very livelihood being stolen from you by equally desperate people.
Exactly. It's been a very old story in the region. The Turkanas, for example, in the north have been fighting with the Marile for centuries. But at the moment, with the drought and with these animals dying, well, violence have just stepped up a notch. And the Turkanas are in a situation where the Kenyan government has tried to disarm them because they were all walking around with assault rifles, basically, but has not put in the army or the police to try and secure the area. So now they're left without any defense against these Mariles that come and raid them with like 100, 200 people. They come in with guns, they just kill everybody and take the cattle. What's also new is that they've started killing women and kids, which didn't happen before. There used to be kind of a code of conduct, and they would only shoot at men. Now it's also the women and the kids. So it's become extremely violent. It's a very dangerous area. I mean, when we went, we had to go with a police escort that we had to take with us, because you can just not drive along there on your own, because you will get attacked.
And of course, there's no guarantee that that escort will actually make any difference. So obviously, brave piece of reporting, James. Your previous pieces, you've been to Mogadishu and you've seen how the refugee problem is affecting the capital. In Dadaab, of course, the biggest refugee camp in the world, just on the border, if you like, with Kenya and Somalia. It's been there for, over a decade already? Clearly, the problem isn't going away.
Absolutely. It's been there for 20 years. The thing is, when you go to Somalia, you realize that the whole political structure is just not there. You have all these different rebel groups, the largest of which is Al-Shabaab. You have a government which only controls part of the capital, and that is not going to go away. It's not going to change. And for the time being, the Shabaab are not letting any humanitarian help come into the south regions, which are completely famine-struck, and they're not doing anything to change the way people live their livelihoods, or to try and find solutions to produce more food. So it's not going to go away. I mean, the situation is here for a long time, and we have to hope that Somalia is going to find some sort of a way out, that peace is going to come to Somalia somehow, and that might solve the problem, but that's not going to be right away. So I'm afraid Dadaab camp is probably going to be there for another 10 years at least.
James, thank you for your report, which was very hard-hitting. It's good that someone's exposing what's happening there. James Andre, thank you very much for being with us. You can catch reporters, of course, via our website, france24.com, in French, English, and in Arabic. You're watching France 24. Stay with us.